Now think of me as an angry tyrant boss. And imagine if I say, you know what? You're so rude. You're just lazy as can be. And your ideas are pure rubbish. And welcome to yet another lesson. And today's lesson is very interesting, very funny, and also slightly rude. That's right. Well, I have for you polite words for an angry boss. Now, as a boss, you must have lost your temper many times at work, right? And in your head, you're thinking, oh my God, these people are lazy, they're rude, their ideas are just rubbish. But you know what? That's not how you can behave at work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you some polite versions of these rude words that actually envelop your mind and the thoughts that you're thinking, so that you can actually convey your message effectively, but yet not sound rude or impolite. So the first word on my list is lazy. That's right. Now, as a boss, I'm sure there's many times that you've thought that a certain employee is being very, very lazy. But you know what? Instead of calling the person, you're lazy, to his face or to her face, which would really break their heart, you could actually use the word incompetent. So the word lazy can be replaced by incompetent, wherein you could actually frame your sentence like, nowadays I'm watching you very closely and I can't help but notice that your behavior has been incompetent. Which means I've been watching you, you've been shirking work, and you are lazy as can be. But because you're a boss and you want to maintain your dignity and the decorum of your workplace, you could just say, you've been behaving in an incompetent fashion, and the message would go right across, but at the same time you won't come off looking like the bad guy. So make sure that when you get that really angry thought and you feel like your employee or co-worker is being lazy, just replace the word lazy with the word incompetent and you'll sound very polite. Now, as a boss, if you're noticing that someone is very badly behaved at the workplace, someone who's just like, not dressing perfectly, not maintaining his or her hygiene, or, sitting in not a very polite or an acceptable fashion at work, basically, you can't go up to the person and say, you know what, behave yourself. This is not your house. You know the person is badly behaved, but you could replace this word, or rather these words, badly behaved, with the word unacceptable. That's right, you could just frame your sentence and say like, nowadays your behavior has been very unacceptable, or this is absolutely unacceptable behavior. I request you to change it. And the message will go right across and you won't come across as rude, and hopefully that badly behaved employee will change his ways. Moving on, I have the next word. Now this is a thought that every boss is constantly thinking, especially if he's having a bad day or is in a really bad or a dark mood. So there's many a time when you look at somebody or you look at their work or their behavior and you feel like, you know what, I just want to walk up to this person and say, you're fired. Just pack your things and leave. Just clear out. But you can't do that because, after all, it's the question of someone's career, someone's work. So you have to replace this word with expendable. So when you want to kind of, warn an employee and warn the employee, saying things like, maybe if you continue on this path, you could be fired, you could actually use the word expendable and say things like, if you continue working along these lines, you could turn out to be expendable to this company. Or, currently, your work does not warrant enough importance in this company and we consider you an expendable resource. Oh my God, it sounds so formal and so bang on target, like the person will definitely get the message and pull up his or her socks. So make sure you don't scream at your employee and tell them, I'm going to fire you, because that sounds like a threat and you don't want to threaten anybody. You could use the word expendable and make it all formal but absolutely direct. I'm going to move on to the next word, rude. That's right. Unless it's food, nobody likes rude. So there are a lot of people who don't know how to speak, how to conduct themselves, at their workplaces. They're rude. They say anything and absolutely everything, things that are not acceptable to the workplace. Now, as a boss, you can't tell someone you're a rude person. But you could actually, use the word impolite. I have noticed that you've been having certain impolite conversations with your co-workers. I would request you to work on the same. Sounds good? In fact, it actually sounds very polite. So if someone's being rude, just replace rude with impolite and you'll get your message across. So we've seen actually 4 polite words, for an angry boss, and I'm going to teach you 5 more. So the next word in my list is a thought that I'm sure every boss goes through. It's called nonsense. That's right. There's many a time when your employee or your co-worker is going to speak utter rubbish, absolute, complete nonsense. But can you say that to their face? No, baby, no, you can't. But what you can do is you can replace it with the word irrelevant. So you could say something like, what you're speaking right now is irrelevant to our topic. And then the person will get it that their talk is absolute nonsense and hopefully stop. So remember, when you get the thought in your head, he or she is talking absolute nonsense, just smile, take a deep breath and say, you know what? I think what you're saying is irrelevant to the topic and we must move on to better things. So that will definitely get your message across. Moving on, stupid. Oh yes, there is no dearth of stupid people in the world, and I'm sure you have encountered many co-workers and colleagues and employees whom you find stupid, but you can't really say that to them because that would be really rude, really impolite. So what you can do is you can actually replace the word stupid with unsound. So imagine now there's a presentation and your employee comes up with a bunch of really stupid ideas. What you can say is, I think your ideas are unsound. Maybe you could prepare better and come back. Or you could say something like, the entire premises of this presentation is unsound. Maybe you need to put in more work, and that would work just fine. So make sure you don't yell out stupid at the top of your voice. You're just polite, you smile, appear pleasant, though I know you're seething inside. Just say, you know what, I think what you're talking about is unsound. It's underprepared, and leave it at that. Moving on, the next thought, which I'm sure you've felt many times, you've thought it a number of times, it's utter rubbish. There is no dearth of people who'll speak rubbish, who'll speak things that make no sense absolutely. So imagine if you have like a brainstorming session and people are coming out with rubbish ideas. So you could say something like, some of these ideas are ineffective. I don't think they will work. And the moment you use the word ineffective, it will replace your thought, utter rubbish. So utter rubbish can be replaced as ineffective. So rubbish ideas can then be described as ineffective ideas, which means basically ideas that are not worthy of being used. Moving on, scandalous. Now, a lot of colorful employees or co-workers exist in workplaces who behave in a scandalous fashion. Sometimes they're attention seeking or sometimes their behavior is not appropriate to the workplace. So now, instead of calling them scandalous to their face, you could replace the word scandalous with infamous. So you could say something like, instead of saying, what, your behavior is scandalous, you could say something like, you're earning quite an infamous reputation for yourself. And if the person has any grain of intelligence in him or her, they are going to get your point right across and they're going to want to change their behavior. So scandalous can become infamous and exude a lot of dignity. Moving on. Oh yes, now this one's really common, isn't it? Liar. Imagine if I call you liar to your face. How are you going to feel? How is your employee going to feel? How is your co-worker going to feel? Liar is a word that can really hurt a person's ego and self-esteem. And you don't know for sure, maybe the person's not a liar, or maybe he is, but you think he or she is a liar, but that doesn't mean you can scream out liar to their face. You could just replace the thought liar with a very formal word like unscrupulous. So you could say something like, I suspect that your behavior has been quite unscrupulous for the past few days, which means actually, I know that you've been lying to me for the past few days. But it sounds so much better, it gives a formal air and also exudes some sort of authority over your employee or co-worker. So liar can be replaced as unscrupulous. Very effective, trust me. So I have this list of words for all those angry bosses out there. Make sure you actually replace your angry thoughts with polite words and you'll make a better impression. So let's go over the list one more time. Lazy can be replaced with incompetent. Badly behaved can be replaced with unacceptable. Now fired could be replaced with expendable. Rude can be impolite. Nonsense, yes. Instead of saying nonsense, you could say irrelevant. Stupid could be unsound. Utter rubbish could be ineffective. Scandalous can be replaced with infamous. And liar with unscrupulous. So it's going to take a lot of practice for you to start using these polite words in the place of these not so polite ones. So make sure you put in the effort. So this is me, Rima, signing out. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. In case you want to say something to me, make sure you write in the comment box below. If you enjoy my lessons, make sure you subscribe to our channel and keep tuned in and keep enjoying learning English.